You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Kansas City Chiefs win 24-14 over the Washington Commanders. I'm BJ Kissel with Kent Swanson. Craig Stout is going to join us in a little bit. Tucker Franklin is the man behind the table over there as we're out in Overland Park again at the Kingdom Bar and Grille. We appreciate them for taking care of us like they always do, and we appreciate the Chiefs for taking care of the Commanders. They're in the second preseason game. This is going to be a lot of fun. It just feels like we're back home.
You're in mid-season form. That was great.
Was that good?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
I'm hyped to be here, man. This is so much fun. I've missed doing this. I've missed hanging out with you guys, and I'm hyped for this season. This is going to be such a good year.
If you are a Chiefs fan living in Kansas City, whether it's a home game, road game, if you want a place to come hang and watch the game, this is a fun place to do it. The drinks are always cold. They've got food specials. Food is pretty good. Yeah. The sports bar, food is good here. We're going to have all kinds of contests, giveaways during the regular season. It's going to be a spot to be, to come and hang out. We'll be going live here every time. So, like I said, Craig Stout's going to join us here in a little bit. Maddie Lane got the week off after doing the postgame show last week. So it'll be pretty good. And Scott Ward's joining us too. Our trusty social media manager is hooking Kent up with a drink. Thank you, Tucker, for making sure that we got that on camera. But first half of the show, we're going to talk first team offense and defense. What stood out to us about this? Because, we didn't see a lot in the Bears game, but what we saw from the first team offense last week, they were clean. They were efficient. They came out and made plays. I'm not going to say this is the cleanest game for the Chiefs first team, at least offensively. They still made some mistakes, but talent took over.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I mean, I don't
know. How else do you say it? They're just better. They're just better than the teams that they're playing against.
Here at Kansas City, talent. We're better than you, and we know it. It wasn't the cleanest. It wasn't the cleanest operation the entire time. Everything was not perfect. There was some inconsistencies. There were some drops. But having the best player in the world, unquestionably, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise, it matters. And you saw some of the high-level throws. You saw some of the poise on some of the little things. Like you got geeked out about, Mahomes navigating the pocket and then a simple dump off to the running back. I think that was a third down too.
To Jerick McKinnon
to extend the drive because, Mahomes just had the presence of mind to just drop a little ball. You saw, a couple up and down, really nice poised up and down throws on the throw to Justin Watson. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a little bit more, but there was just a lot of high level plays, even though things weren't, the drops and there was pressure got through a couple times. Maybe the pocket wasn't great, but you saw a lot of good stuff from the offensive and defensive side of the football. Honestly, I mean, both first units have been great.
And that play right there from L'Jarius Sneed wrote down, that was early in the game. That was a phenomenal play. I don't know how many times we've watched a play like that defensively where the defensive back does not get his head around. And then right there, Patrick Mahomes just being one of the best players, if not the best player in all of football.
People don't appreciate the level of poise to throw, the touch there on that pass. And then one of Jody Fortson's 2 touchdowns with, a little back shoulder fade to close, the first drive. I mean, it was a really great performance, and great execution in some big high leverage situations. They had to wiggle out of some trouble, but overall, a lot of really good things happened and a lot of impressive things happened.
And then this, I don't know how it goes against everything that defenses are taught. Mm-hmm. As far as when a quarterback flows that way, he's not going to throw back across his body. And I don't know how many times we see that, probably 3 or 4 times a year. He makes that exact throw, whether it was right there to whoever that was. And then Travis Kelce seems to be the one who's always on the other end of that throw. But as you go, some of these other highlights here, courtesy of, the NFL Twitter account putting these out. But it's great to see George Karlaftis. Great to see him figure out his sack celebration that isn't going to get him made fun of for an entire week. That's pretty good. They're looking at talking about it on the sideline, guys hyping him up. That's what's more fun to see. And that's where, like, going up to training camp, and not to go off on a tangent on this stuff, but you talk about why it's important to go up to camp. When you see the guys make plays and the entire sideline is celebrating, you see like the third and the fourth string guys come off to the sideline and the starters are hyped for them. It's because they spent so much time together up in camp, just grinding their asses off. And Coach Reed talked about it. He's like, I am not easy on these guys when they're up in St. Joe. And it's for moments like that that are more about a team coming together than anything else that you'll find.
The part you just said, the team coming together, the gelling of those are the moments that are the most valuable. What it seems like for Andy Reid is the focus on football, doing something hard together is invaluable when you're looking at the long climb into a football season and up the mountain, as some people say. So that camaraderie, that's really valuable. The collective, the oneness that can kind of come through that whole process. Yeah, it's fun to see all these guys kind of rooting for each other, even though they're competing for their livelihood.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about it, is that they can compete against each other. They can help each other, knowing that, the ultimate goal is for everyone to make everyone around them better, and that it's not going to benefit them individually or as a team to not do everything in their power to help the guy next to them in one way or another. So let's break this down a little bit and let's talk about Patrick Mahomes and what we saw from him today. Finishes 12 of 19 for 162 yards and the 2 touchdowns, both going to Jody Fortson. What stood out to you most about Mahomes' day?
I mean, just some high-level throws, some high-level moments, just a reminder for some people that maybe thought he needed Tyreek Hill to do some of the things he did, I guess. Like, I think, he's going to get slept on a little bit. You see some of these little, this little sidearm throw back into the field. Like, he still can do some of those things that, other people just simply can't. And it wasn't perfect. Like, there was some plays, I think about, some miscommunication with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Earlier in the game, they tried to run a little smash concept, and I mean, Marquez had clearance vertical, and there's some miscommunications and some stuff there. But I think some of the high level stuff that he was able to execute, even the second touchdown to Jody Fortson was a really nice play, a really difficult angle to try to complete a pass, which we're all familiar with at this point. A lot of the same with Mahomes, but different faces. One thing, we look at this back shoulder throw to Jody Fortson as well. That's something we didn't see a ton of in the first 5 years of Mahomes' career. 4 years actually playing. The back shoulder fade it hasn't been a big piece of this Chiefs offense historically, and it does seem like the kinds of people or kinds of players that they have in this offense lends itself to being able to do that a little bit more. That could be just another weapon in his arsenal that he can kind of unleash. In season could be very interesting. And you saw that. I mean, Jody Fortson's a great red zone target on a back shoulder fade.
Yeah, and Jody Fortson finished tied for the lead with Cornell Powell and Marquez Valdes-Scantling for the most targets in this game. Finished with just 4 catches for 19 yards, but obviously the 2 big touchdowns. And obviously the point on Mahomes, and we'll finish up that real quick because I do want to talk about Jody Fortson in his game, because I know it was just the preseason. We've seen it a little bit from Jody Fortson over the last couple of years, a player that everyone's excited about because you see the raw ability, but you're just happy for a dude that finally felt like last year he had bought his time. He'd been on the practice squad for a few years. He was ready to go, and then he gets injured. And now he's fought his way back into getting that same kind of buzz coming into this year. Hope he stays healthy going into the regular season, and we get to see the kind of plays that his teammates have been watching at practice from him. But to finish up on Mahomes, probably wasn't the cleanest game overall, but the natural talent we saw the one where, Travis Kelce gets caught up with the defensive end. He goes down. A couple other plays where it just kind of looked like it was either a one read play. They had something set up that wasn't quite there. But again, the talent takes over, and there's certain things. The Jerick McKinnon pass, it's off script. The Justin Watson one is probably the biggest throw. They got the look they wanted. They got the man-to-man coverage. He runs the over route, whatever that was, and took advantage of it right here. That route right there. You got the linebacker or the safety, whoever that is. That's the matchup that you want, and Watson beats him. Mahomes gets it to him, and as impressive as that is, that's in rhythm. That's right. Like,
well, look at
the top of his route, he delivers the ball. The McKinnon one to me is more impressive because it was off script, that street ball crap that people want to give Mahomes a hard point about. And I looked at you. You played quarterback. It is not easy off script to hit a running back on a swing route like that along the sideline on a third down off script and probably off his wrong foot.
Yeah.
Your dad played baseball. I didn't know if you knew that.
I did. What? He did?
But he hits him in stride to get the first down. That's a more impressive play to me because he made something that's really not very easy look extremely easy.
It's athletic, but it's also cerebral. And, having the, I think he's processing the game. Like, that's one of the things Mahomes does really well, among a million other things, is just he's able to process through having to be an athlete. He can be a mover. He can be, operating and trying to navigate pressure. He can be on the run, but he's still thinking through the concept as it's happening, and he understands where his outlets are. That was a prime example. He knew where his out was. His outlet was out here. He was able to, calmly navigate not the cleanest pocket, not the cleanest situation, and just dump the ball off. The defense kind of cleared out a little bit too. He kind of held on to a little bit long, and the ball just dumped that ball with a little bit of clearance to extend the drive. So, I mean, it's the high level stuff. He's still the same dude he's always been, despite a different number 10 being on the field this time around. And it's good to see. I think it's going to make this season more fun for Chiefs fans, because I think high level talking about Mahomes, I think the narrative is going to shift a little bit on him, where maybe people aren't going to be as bored with him because there's a storyline about this, Tyreek Hill or lack thereof, that we're going to get to enjoy. People will be like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe you can't read a damn defense.
Yeah,
maybe it's not just about Tyreek Hill. And like, we've been screaming this about him for so long. I can't tell how many times I've said.
Yeah,
his mental acuity has never gotten enough credit.
It's going to be cool it's going to be cool again for the national media to think Patrick Mahomes is good, and I think that's going to be fun for all Chiefs fans again.
That's funny. All right, now before we talk a little bit about Jody Fortson, do you want to talk about the Chiefs running game? Because if you want to pick something apart of what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, I haven't seen it up front. Now, not to make excuses for the guys, but I don't necessarily see the motivation for the guys up front to just grind it out in the preseason game. They threw the ball a lot. Haven't seen a lot of push from the offensive line. The running game just hasn't gotten going consistently. I think Shane Buechele led the Chiefs in rushing in this game right there with 5 carries for 35 yards. And as a team, they averaged 2.6. So I can't do that math in my head, but Derek Gore, 5 for 11 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 4 for 8. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 carries for 4 yards. Are you concerned about where the Chiefs' running game is right now?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, nothing too crazy. I think it's something worth paying attention to, because the run game hasn't looked good in 2 straight weeks. What's the root effect of that? What's the root of that? Who knows? Like, what are they working on there? What kind of stuff are they prioritizing here early in the season? But the push hasn't been great. I mean, I don't think the running backs have looked particularly great either. I don't think they've always read it out great. Clyde, Isaiah, Pacheco, both of them, I don't think it's been perfect. So, there's still some time. There's still like 3 weeks until the season starts. We forget that. But I think there's definitely some work to do before then.
Yeah, and I remember talking with Nate Taylor on KCSN Update throughout the week. So if you're watching this, we appreciate it if you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and support what we have going on. It lets us know that we're doing something right. And please go ahead, drop a comment in there. Let us know. Tucker's going to bring your comments and your questions up, and we'll get to those later in the show. But you talk about the Chiefs running game and what you want to see from that group. And until it becomes something that we're going to lean on, I'm not going to be overly concerned. I feel like on a 3rd and 1 situation in the regular season, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, those guys are going to move bodies when they need to, which we haven't necessarily had. And we've talked about that throughout the offseason, about the composition of the offensive line, and the skill set is completely different than what we saw 5 years ago, even though Eric Fisher and those guys were maulers. And Eric Fisher's a bad example, but like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, starting right guard for a long time. He was an athletic dude. Mitch Morse, athletic dude, get down in space. Whereas now these guys can physically move bodies in ways that we necessarily wasn't the strength of guys that we had up front before. So I'm not going to be overly concerned about it. Nate made the point that he finally wants to see Andy Reid. He thinks this is the year he's going to lean on the running game a little bit more because, all these reasons. And I go, people have been saying that about Andy Reid since LaShawn McCoy was a rookie. And before that, Brian Westbrook was there. Like, they're not going to run the football a lot.
Right.
But when they need to, can they run on 3rd and 1? And I will trust the interior offensive line in that situation to get the push on those short yardage situations, or inside the red zone to get some of those short yardage situations.
Well, I think you look at, some of the short yardage situations that they've had to this point, they've executed. Now it's been the same exact Michael Burton fullback dive.
It's the same play we see
that they ran
46 times
They ran it 13. I believe they ran it 13 times last year, and they threw it they ran it 12, and they finally threw it late in the game or late in the season as that final tendency breaker. We were all waiting for it. And they
that reverse pitch is coming.
Yeah,
we'll tag this right now. We're going to see that. They're going to play off of it. He's going to fake that inside dot, and he's going to pitch it off to the side.
It better be Pacheco when they do it, because Clyde trying to get to the edge on that could be a very interesting proposition, because that's not necessarily his strength. Better be Pacheco.
Moore coming around.
Ooh,
let's get weird with it.
they line up Sky Moore in the H. Hey, you know what? I've heard worse ideas. To this point. But I mean, they got pushed on some of the short yardage stuff. So that's always good. I mean, we've asked and we've clamored for them to maybe switch up their offensive, their blocking scheme a little bit up front, and we haven't seen them lean on anything other than wide zone. More, that's still their staple. We'll see if maybe this is year they finally try to get a little bit more downhill.
Yeah. Something else that's always good?
What?
Trade Coffee. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, Trade Coffee is great. They connect customers to the freshest and best tasting coffee they've ever made, any consumer has ever made at home, by partnering with the country's best craft roasters. These are independent businesses from big cities and small towns. Trade customers are truly impactful for these independent roasters, often being the largest source of new growth for them. Trade Coffee sends you the freshest roasted beans from 60 of the country's best craft roasters. And right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off your first order, plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/KCSN. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free, Tucker. Get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/KCSN and let Trade find you a coffee you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/KCSN for $30 off.
Good stuff.
I think Patrick Mahomes drink coffee? Do you think so?
I doubt it.
Is it too
I'm sure there's something about it dehydrates him or so. Bobby and Barry Rubin, all those guys it's probably a reason that he physically doesn't drink coffee.
Do you know
but he's got
coffee, the dehydration on coffee is actually scientifically not real.
Thanks, Dr. Swanson.
Yeah. So you can drink as much as you want.
All right. Let's switch to real quick, because I want to see Craig. I want to see Craig here pretty quickly. So before we bring Craig on, though, let's talk a little bit about the Chiefs defense and who stood out. I know that in watching this, Nick Bolton had the big play early in this game on third down. His pass breakup. Yeah. The one that I saw, the pass breakup on third down was big time. He
had some really, really nice plays. Some of the plays behind the line of scrimmage, some really nice tackles and some really good plays there. I mean, those are some of the things that I've obviously carried over from last year. He had the instincts are obviously picking up more and more and more as him. And he had a lot of really strong instincts coming out of Missouri. Coverage is something where he's definitely got better. And you heard him talking during the preseason, during training camp about, hey, I know I need to get better at coverage. That's one of the things he said. I've got to get better at coverage. And the play he made through the hands of the receiver today on third down, I believe it was, he closed decently, he closed well enough to be able to be in a position to make plays on the hands. And that was fantastic. That's huge. Those are the things that, I don't know if he's ever going to be Fred Warner in coverage. He doesn't have to be. He just has to make plays like that. Yep. That's going to be a game changer for this football team if he's able to do that. Because, Anthony Hitchens couldn't do that last year. Anthony Hitchens didn't do that his entire career, honestly. That was never one of his strengths either. So he's already showing some things and some positive indicators when it comes to the coverage.
Yep.
Early on, it's still early, but that's a really positive sign for this football team. That could be massive as they're trying to figure some things out on the back seven.
And when you combine that with what we've seen from Willie Gay this offseason and his improvement in coverage, which was something that we thought was the athleticism of him coming out of college.
Yes.
You're expecting it to be there. Now going his third year, expect it to really hit the next level. And if that second level of the Chiefs defense, we see Leo Chanel playing pretty well, he's going to be an asset to the Chiefs defense as he gets more experience. That second level defense is going to be pretty fun. One more player I want to ask you about, George Karlaftis, and what we saw, another sack from him. We joked about celebration earlier, but the guy that I already projected to break the franchise record for rookie sacks of 10 set by Derek Thomas. If you remember that guy back in 89, 10 sacks is the franchise record for sacks in a season by a rookie in 2 games. Not bad.
Yeah, he's off to a great start. If you're a Chiefs fan, you've got to be absolutely thrilled with what you've seen out of George Karlaftis to this point. The effort, the intensity, the motor. everyone talks about it, and it's real. Like that play that he just went, he got his sack on is a prime example. He kind of rushes wide. He rushes wide a lot, and he has a tendency to kind of get washed deep. That happens sometimes, but he was double teamed on this play. He spins out and is literally held by the right tackle, and it doesn't matter. He's still playing through he's continuing to play through the play, and he's able to get his second sack of this preseason. And more importantly, Beej, the celebration was just infinitely better than whatever that was. Like, he looks surprised.
He's coachable.
Yeah,
that shows us that he's coachable. He takes the constructive criticism throughout the week. He's like, you know what? I just got to be better here.
Yeah, no,
I got to be better.
Yeah, that's probably where Frank Clark's impact has definitely. I think some of these behind closed doors practices that they're starting to get, it's not necessarily as much technique. It's probably more things like celebrations at this point. That's really where he's kind of getting his hands on them, and so that's a good thing. And good, very very good job by George Karlaftis. Reason to be excited. Karlaftis needs a dope nickname ASAP, says Paul. Yeah, there probably does need to be a pretty good nickname for him. He's earning it. That's a tricky one.
I don't got one yet.
King Carl.
We gotta give some thought to this. It's not something that we just pop up and figure out live on the postgame show.
Joshua Briscoe tweeted out a picture of Snuffleupagus, because that kind of goes with whatever Andy called him, Karlophagus, esophagus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that can go.
I think Kelsey called him that too.
Oh, my Lord. Great.
Just George.
King George.
We'll figure this out. Maybe
now.
Maybe we can welcome on Mr. Craig Stout. Maybe he can help us. Let's bring Craig on. I want to see his face. There he is.
Hey!
This is the guy that I want to see. Sunday Fun Day, rocking his Charlie Hustle shirt. I love it.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going beautifully, buddy. How are you today?
Oh man, I have been doing better, a little bit under the weather, but I'm here. I'm joining you guys. There's no place I'd rather be than talking football after the Chiefs finally get in the win column in preseason week 2. Most important thing in the world there. Yeah,
it's a positive indicator. Future success is when the threes are able to hold on to a victory. Craig, we're going to talk about some of the Craig is great, by the way. Matt Kintner, great job. If you subscribe to KCSN, there's a big channel devoted to how great Craig is. That's not even a joke. The KCSN Substack links in the description of this show, by the way. Craig, just what's your overall, some overall takeaways from the defensive side of the ball? That's your area of expertise. We've, waxed poetic about Mahomes, but just some high level thoughts on what you saw out of the defense so far.
I mean, lots of positives. I like the way the secondary plays. These young guys continue to play well together. The second level, those linebackers, you guys highlighted them already. They look like they're playing at game speed already. And you would expect it out of two young guys, but it's good to see nevertheless. I liked a lot of what I saw along the defensive line, despite there being some guys out. No Chris Jones, obviously, but we got some glimpses of some other guys there. But I was really pretty intrigued by the second team. When the seconds and the thirds kind of came into the game, what we got to see from those guys was very positive. Jalen Watson, at this point, I'm going to be insanely upset if he doesn't make this game. I just am. I love.
You hear that, Dave Tope?
I love what I see out of him every single week now. I just think he's a gamer, flies around the field, uses that length very well. Joshua Williams, again, looked pretty good. I even thought Deion Bush, second week in a row.
Yeah.
The Deion Bush looked pretty good. That big wall
about killed a guy
there, but did well along, in the secondary there. And then a guy, let's just go right into this, Kim, because this is a guy we talked about in the pregame show here, Colin Saunders.
Yeah.
This is week 2. He flashed in week 2. I don't know. Again, it's a tough room for him to be in because he is not a true nose tackle. And they brought in Danny Shelton to be a true nose tackle. He barely played. Danny Shelton barely played. Colin Saunders gets a bunch of reps, especially with Chris Jones out. He's backing up Turk Wharton in this game, and he flashed. He flashed a lot. Made a great play behind the line of scrimmage. Had another one where he just levels, absolutely levels the backup quarterback in a very clean and legal hit that he got flagged for. I thought he looked really good. And if there's going to be a numbers game, and we've talked a little bit about the linebacker and defensive line and how many they're going to keep, if there is going to be a numbers game and it has to rely on who's done what in the preseason, Colin Saunders right now has 1 foot in the door, if push comes to shove, because he's played so well in the preseason.
I couldn't agree more. And I think when Danny Shelton was signed, I think we said it on the show, I think this was a response to, hey, Colin, let's go. Like, I think that was a direct correlation between, hey, what does this football team need? What do they need, in their backup defensive line? This is, Danny Shelton's not a response to a competition for Tershawn Wharton. They're completely different players, but they needed some size. They needed some, some ability up there in the middle of that defense, some strength, some girth, if you will. And, Colin Saunders has the ability to provide some of that. And I mean, but like what we've seen so far is, like, honestly, the first two games isn't necessarily like, hey, I'm going to anchor as the one tech. It's like he's a guy that's kind of showing some of the things that you liked coming out of when he was at the Senior Bowl. When he was in Mobile, it was some winning with a little bit of quickness, being able to shoot a gap, some athleticism to chase down some plays like he did last week. Like, I don't know, like whatever's happened the last 2 weeks, because I didn't see him like this in camp either when we were out there. And some of the clips we've seen to this point, he's looked a lot better in the last 2 weeks.
All right, here's what I want to set up for both of you guys real quick, because there's less than a week now. I mean, the starters, the first team, we're not going to see them play next week. They're already going to start preparing for Arizona next week. That's the way that the Chiefs roll. They're not half the coaches, the younger coaching staff, are going to work with the young guys who are going to play next Thursday to make sure they can function and get everything out of there. But the rest of those guys, their eyes are on Arizona. That's what they're preparing for. So as the personnel staff starts cutting this thing down and talking with Dave Toub and trying to figure out who the 50th, 51st, 52nd, 53rd player to make this roster, give me 2 guys, Craig and Kent. Craig, I'll start with you. Give me 2 guys that you think helped their case today more than necessarily last week. Who made a stronger case to make the 53 today after this performance against the Commanders?
I mean, I'll leave Colin there since we just talked about him. Darius Harris, yet another good week. He's shown well in Steve Spagnuolo's scheme. Spagnuolo has trusted him to be the Mike in some instances where they've been deep into their depth chart there with injuries and things like that. Showed well yet again. And then I'm going to say it, and I know people aren't going to like it.
I know where this is going.
Chris Lamont. Listen, I've been having him as a lock on this roster for special teams. Dave Toub gets to pick some of these things. Chris Lamont's got a lot more run with the defense. He didn't look awesome. I'm not saying he looked awesome. The pick was certainly one that was just kind of thrown right to him. He was in trail technique on the one. He got kind of beat a little bit too much, but he got his hand on the ball. But he was feisty and he was active. And that's going to be your cornerback 5 or 6, a guy that's not going to play a ton of defensive snaps. You're just keeping a guy for special teams. I hate to say it, but I think today, and I already think he was a lock, but I think today is super lock. Put him in Sharpie. He's going to be on this 53.
Yeah, if Jalen Watson is let go over him, I'm still going to riot.
I think I'm going to pour one out for DiCaprio Boodle.
Yeah, that's the guy I think you should probably be looking and circling, because I don't know. I know we're trying to talk on the positive side, but DiCaprio Boodle might be a guy that played himself out a little bit. I mean, it wasn't pretty from the slot today. Cam Sims torched him right off the line. He was holding on for dear life all the way to the back line of the end zone. A guy like Prince Tigo-Winogo, I think, is a guy that might have helped himself a little bit here. It seems like he might be a little bit more involved in this battle than, we initially, it kind of maybe seemed like. Jaron Christian and Roderick Johnson continue to be a little bit difficult. I think they're struggling. I think Prince Tigo-Winogo's played pretty well, or pretty capable relative to what we've seen from some of the other guys. I think he's a guy that has a chance to have helped himself here. And I mean, he's always a guy that we liked a lot coming out. Like, the talent was always something that we were really excited about as a player. It was just a really bad, I believe it was a knee issue that we saw from him that kind of pushed his draft stock down and wound up putting him late into day 3 of this draft, or the draft that he was in. So that's a guy. What was the other? I had another one I really wanted to talk about.
Justin Watson.
Justin Watson, Sharpie.
Lock.
Oh,
he's a lock.
Justin Watson might actually get offensive snaps.
It's becoming not he's the next best guy. that can make this roster as you just kind of like figure out, okay, here are your 5 or 6 receivers. He's becoming guys like, this guy might help us win the football game.
Yeah.
He's not just a guy that's the next best player who's going to make it. It's like, holy cow, this guy can make some plays.
Well, and Tucker, run it back really quick here again. We run that playback courtesy of the NFL. I want to see this again. I think he lining up from number 2. He's lining up from number 2, but like we've seen him like kind of run that slice over route from the inside, from the slot, from like the number 3 position or the number 2 or inside position. Like that's a guy that has really good straight line speed. Another guy capable of doing that on this offense. Like so you can get. You can threaten vertically with a lot of these different guys, and he's another guy that is now showing capable of beating you vertically. That's it. Just that one defined route, even I think is something that can play well. For this football team. It's
a comfort to know that your 4th, 5th, 6th wide receiver can come out there and make plays, just like we saw right there. And there's also a comfort that Kent is going to tell us about from one of our other sponsors here, Dave.
Yeah, if you're living paycheck to paycheck or struggling to make ends meet, it can be really stressful when unexpected expenses come. And now Dave can help you get out of a pinch when you really need it. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. There's no interest and no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Future you will thank you. They'll thank you.
Love it. All right. Let's go to the final segment here. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching live, whether you're listening on Sunday or Monday to the podcast. We appreciate your support. Go ahead and please like and subscribe if you're watching it on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and rate, review. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about the content that on this show and just what we're doing overall at KC Sports Network. We just about got everything rolling. We told you there's going to be a ton of shows going on, 25 shows a week this fall, and we've just about got all those up and running, but we appreciate your support. But right now we've got a new segment that we are going to have here for the first time, courtesy of our friends at Holiday Distillery. This is our toast game, where we are going to toast somebody that we feel like deserves it for this one. And we've got a special one for the first toast game. So if you're listening to this, probably not in the morning after, but if you're watching this live, go ahead, grab your drink. And I want to toast Mr. Bobby Stroop. Because if you don't know who Bobby Stroop is, you should get on that. Has been training Patrick Mahomes for a very, very long time. And as much as we give Bobby a lot of credit, Patrick Mahomes deserves the credit. He's the one who went out there and did it. But Bobby's very good at what he does. And when you see passes across Patrick Mahomes' body, just like we're seeing right here, if you don't know how difficult this is, go out in your backyard and try to make this throw right now. And if you can't, call Bobby, pay him somebody. He will help you learn how to do this. But here's a toast to Bobby Stroop from APEC Performance down in Texas, and just helping dudes out. And Patrick's not the only guy he's working with George Karlaftis.
I was going to say
that we've been talking about how athletic he looks. So toast to Bobby Stroop for just absolutely killing it this offseason with the Chiefs players and seeing Patrick Mahomes do things that we've never seen before.
Are we cheersing?
Cheers.
We should cheers.
Cheers,
Craig,
buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Toast
Cheers.
Out to
Cheers,
the toast
everybody.
game. I was going to say.
I love how petty Bobby is being on Twitter right now, by the way.
Oh my
I am
gosh.
fully embracing that. Man.
We don't have to put all the tweets up, but just go follow Bobby Stroop on Twitter, and you can see all the glory. It's incredible. It's so
incredible.
much fun.
It's incredible. He is going to be the loudest voice of a lot of loud voices in Chiefs Kingdom if Patrick Mahomes goes nuclear once again, we all know he's going to. He's just gonna it's gonna be loud, and I'm here for it.
He's gonna talk. And look, him and Mahomes are tight. So I would like to venture to say Bobby has a good pulse on things there.
anybody who's ever been around, we've all been athletes at some level or another, and people start doubting you. It gives you the motivation you need. And for guys like Patrick Mahomes, who we can all sit here and say he's off to the greatest start of any quarterback in NFL history, he's going to look for doubters. He's going to look for people to say things that are negative about him, and the people that are around him are going to use that for motivation. And when Tyreek Hill leaves, and there's a lot of national media that are like, oh, well, Tyreek Hill made them. They're not going to have the same explosiveness. He kind of helped make Patrick Mahomes and what we've seen. So now they're going to question Patrick Mahomes and what are we going to see from him when he doesn't have Tyreek Hill? That is motivation for these guys. And so for them to come out and for him to hit so many different receivers and for him to make the same kind of crazy athletic plays like we saw on that throw across his body, reading defenses, going to multiple players throughout the ball based on what the defense is telling you, not what everybody else is telling you to try to get the ball to. Let's not downplay Tyreek being the most explosive player in NFL history, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Patrick Mahomes still off to the best start in NFL history. And that's not because of Tyreek Hill that he was doing that. Tyreek Hill, obviously phenomenal player, but let's not downplay that this is the dude right here making plays all over the place. And, our quarterback's just better than yours. So
He is. It's a reminder. It's about to be a reminder all season of who the best player in the world is, and it's going to be delicious. And I think that the narrative will be fun to watch as Chiefs fans because everyone's been bored with Mahomes. They've been waiting for him to fail.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't the cleanest year. This year they're going to put some numbers up.
All right, let's wrap this show up. Craig, final thoughts after the Chiefs' 24-14 victory over the Washington Commanders here in the second week of the preseason. Don't expect to see the starters. So the next time we're going to see a lot of these guys out on the field is September 11th against the Arizona Cardinals. What were your final takeaways, final thoughts on this game?
He's muted. Hold on. We can't hear you, Craig.
The final takeaways from this entire preseason: the Chiefs offense, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. The Chiefs defense, 3 drives, 0 points allowed, not even close to a field goal attempt. I know that these aren't the best teams in the world that they're playing, but they made these starters look bad. So that's a positive thing for the preseason. It's a good thing to see both units gelling the way that they are. I think they're ahead of where we all thought they might be at the start of the season. Bring on Arizona.
Woo! Love it. Kent, final thoughts.
It's been really fun to watch these rookies play this year.
Yep.
I very much enjoyed this rookie class. We were sitting here at Kingdom Bar, geeked out about what Brett Veach was able to put together with this draft class, and they haven't disappointed to this point. There's been a lot of positive indicators for a lot of guys, and if you hit 3 out of 10 draft picks, you're feeling great. I think this group has the potential to do more than that. It's not going to be the prettiest every year or every week.
Yep.
It's not going to be. This year's going to be different. There's going to be some growing pains, but it's energizing. This group is energizing, and you can only imagine what if we feel it outside as fans, what kind of energy that's bringing. You can only imagine what it's doing for that locker room. What's kind of they're probably feeling it the exact same way that this change that's coming, and this is the first step in the next wave for the Patrick Mahomes era, and it's off to a fantastic start. I'm so excited and encouraged by what we've seen to this point, and it's probably your patience is going to be tested, and you probably need to be a little bit more patient with this group than you have in the past. Yeah. But I think the payoff's going to be huge for the future of this organization.
Yeah, for me, it's the young guys, but it's specifically George Karlaftis. The entire story all offseason was the pass rush needed to get better. They were dead last in the AFC. They were 29th in the NFL at 31 sacks. We saw it in the playoffs when they needed to take down Joe Burrow, when they needed to make a play defensively. They weren't getting pressure. They weren't making plays in that way. And we have seen George Karlaftis be even better than we thought he was going to be. Absolutely. When we sat here. And we just talked about Bobby Stroop. We just toasted Bobby Stroop. The athleticism and the athletic fluidity that we've seen from George Karlaftis has been probably the most surprising thing for me in the preseason in the best of ways. And that you talk about it, he's relentless, he's physical, he's aggressive, all of those things. But for him to stop and start in all of the athleticism type things that we saw on his sack right there, changing directions, fighting off a couple guys, saw a little bit of everything on that play right there. And that's what gets me most excited. And in addition to that, it's guys like Jody Fortson and Justin Watson. So for the Chiefs offense, if there happens to be an injury like we have with Juju and McCole Hardman right now, a little banged up, what are we going to do we need somebody else to step in offensively and make some plays. Not necessarily carry the offense, score 100 yards, or score, get 100 yards and score a bunch of touchdowns. But these guys are making plays with Patrick Mahomes with the first team offense.
Yep.
It's not a bunch of backups and these guys show out against 2 seconds versus seconds. These guys, Justin Watson, Jody Fortson, we saw it today against the starters going out there and making plays with Patrick Mahomes. It gives me confidence in case there are injuries, these guys can step in and make an impact for the team. So Karlaftis, multitude of offensive weapons is what I'm excited about, but also excited to continue here at the Kingdom Bar and Grill moving forward for the post-game show. So again, whether the Chiefs are at home, on the road, if you're not out at Arrowhead Stadium, come hang out with us at the Kingdom Bar. We'll have giveaways and all kinds of cool stuff all throughout the season, along with a lot of giveaways thanks to our partners, drink specials, food specials here. We appreciate everybody at the Kingdom Bar for taking care of us, and we appreciate Craig for joining us. Appreciate you, buddy. But thanks for listening. We will see you guys next time. Don't forget to catch the Lab Monday night live at 8 o'clock Central Time. They will have more thoughts as they get more of the film, and really get into this as the Chiefs on Tuesday break down the 53-man roster. It's coming up here pretty quick, couple weeks. So should be good. But we appreciate your support. We will see you guys all next time.